So I was planning on this just being a ice update video, but I have run into a couple of issues, so I'll just go through them now. So the good news is I've got lots of ice. I can stand on the ice quite easily. Doesn't seem to be cracking. But the bad news is I have a leak. So if you remember my last video, the water level here was right up to the top of the boards, and now it's down, I don't know, 5-6 inches. So that slit I thought wouldn't be an issue over here has become an issue. So what I noticed on the first day, I couldn't see any water here, so I thought that that the slit that I had under here, the water, there was so much pressure on the plastic that it kept it flat against the ground, and it may have been leaking, but minimally. But that's not the case. It was pretty mucky over here, so it was leaking pretty good. And you can see here where I had it before, the water's way down. Normally I have this up 6-7 more inches. So I'm going to assume it's only this slit here that's leaking. It's possible I have other leaks. I didn't see any, so I just have to assume that the rest is okay. I'm gonna need to repair this somehow. So unlike in the past where I repaired it with the tape, just putting the tape under the water, I'm gonna have to somehow break under the ice here, try and repair it, and then refill it once it's repaired. It's supposed to get really cold in 2 or 3 days, so I don't have a lot of time. So I will try to repair this. So my first idea is to try and break it up with a sledgehammer. So we'll see how it goes. So that went surprisingly well, but it makes sense because I would have had a layer of ice and then likely a void underneath. So with that void underneath, it created a little bit of space, so it made this easier to break. If this was solid against the ground, I think it would have been a lot more difficult. Okay, I found it. It's back here. So what I'll do now is I'll tape that up. I actually found another little one here. I don't think you guys can see it. It's like a little tiny one. So let these dry out a bit, and then I'm going to use flex tape like I did last year. And if you're wondering what I'm going to do with this, so I'll have to put in significantly more water, about 6 inches I would say. So these are going to be floating around kind of like ice cubes in a drink. So they'll melt and eventually they'll smooth out with the top layer. But I'm pretty confident that that's the culprit because the ground actually goes up a little bit here, and there's water right up until that little rip. So everything up until that rip seems to be leaking out and coming out over here. So if I can get that repaired, and then I'll get this small one repaired as well, I think that will be okay. The only bad thing is I gotta refill this now. So I've wasted several thousand liters of water, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So I'll film taping of that, and then likely the aftermath of filling up the rink. Considering I already have here, I've got 3 inches of ice. Further out here, I'll have at least 3, maybe more. So what I expect to happen is that the rink will kind of raise. I don't know where, if it'll break into smaller chunks, but it'll kind of raise up like it's an iceberg you can visualize. So we'll do that. I'll take a video and see how it turns out. Okay, so I got the flex tape on here. You can see it's a bit discolored. It seems to be working. I've got a little bit of water over top of this. It kind of comes up over here. And I can't see any movement, which leads me to believe that it's no longer leaking. So what I'm going to do now is just fill it up. And I'll check back over here to see if it leaks, because once you have a lot of water, it's really hard to tell. There's no bubbles or anything, so you just have to look for dampness around the rink. So I'll start filling that up. It's supposed to get really cold tonight, so I've got this afternoon to do it, which will give me a few hours, and get up to 0. So I'm not too worried about it freezing, but I got to get another 5 or 6 inches, so I probably got maybe 5 or 6 hours of flooding, give or take. So I'll do that. We'll see how it goes. So it's been 2 days since I flooded. So this side of the rink seems pretty solid, but where I had the open water was over here, because where I was filling up was here. So it was melting any ice kind of in this area here and back. So feels pretty good. The ice is cracking a bit. I don't know if you can hear that. It looks like I have a bit of ice over here, not enough to skate. Let's go check where it was leaking. So I do have a good amount of ice here, maybe an inch or so. You can see I got water on top, so when the water is not frozen underneath, it'll creep up around the edges and come on top sometimes. And it's also pretty sunny out right now, so the top layer is melting a little bit, so I think that's all that is. It looks okay under here. I don't think it's leaking anymore. It's hard to tell. So I think it's holding the water. The water level I'm watching is against here, and it looks to be about the same. So I'm gonna say it's holding the water, and now I just gotta wait for it to freeze. I could probably skate on this edge over here. It would be my earliest skate, but I'm gonna wait because I have a lot of I still have a lot of water under here, so I don't want to make things worse. And I also haven't flooded it. It's very, very bumpy here, and we're having a big rainstorm tonight that's supposed to turn into freezing rain, so I'll let that happen, and then it's going to get really cold, so then that should freeze up the ice. So within a few days I should be able to skate on smooth ice. Well, that's about it. So my next video will be hopefully just on the condition of the ice, and there's no other issues.